Howdy, and welcome to Risky Standard, an actual play podcast featuring a group of rowdy best friends playing tabletop role-playing games together. I'm your host and GM, Mitch Brewster. You can find the show over on Twitter at Standard Risky, and you can also always find us over in the show's Discord, where we're chatting about the show, posting character sheets, maps from some of our sessions, talking about new tabletop RPGs that we're interested in. Shout out here to John Harper, who just released the first big supplement for Blades in the Dark, Deep Cuts. We've been talking about that a little bit over in the Discord. Some cool new mechanical innovations for the Forged in the Dark system. Maybe some stuff that we will get to try out here on the show someday. But yeah, with me today, we've got Peter Loftus.
That's right. I'm Pete. I'm here. I am no longer on Twitter, so you cannot find me there, but I am still America's #1 chip enjoyer, where you can find me in the Discord as I walk the twisted path of the Flavor Warrior hand in hand.
We have young Malcolm Hall here with us as well this morning.
Hey, what's up? It's Malcolm. I got nothing to say.
We've got old Timothy Mans with us here as well.
Good to be here. Take this moment to say a message from our official sponsor, Olipop, a new kind of soda, prebiotic. It's good for the stomach, and this one is banana cream, and it tastes exactly like a banana cream.
I actually, Tim, just to piggyback on that, I actually many episodes ago did a drink warning not to drink the Olipop flavored Dr.
Pepper.
Goodwin.
Dr. Goodwin.
Whatever it was. Do not drink that. Enjoy the banana cream. Stay far away from the Dr. Goodwin.
Their Mountain Dew is pretty good.
Every time I post an episode, it does ask me if our episode includes any advertisements or endorsements.
Oh, occasionally, but not like you would think.
Yeah. Thankfully, that is a checkbox on there.
So we're going to hear this. Cool. I'm about to start rolling
Olipop banana cream is going to hear this.
Yeah, if you're the CEO of Olipop, feel free to reach out to
Dr. Goodwin himself.
The good doctor. And if you're still here with us, dear listener, today's episode is going to be a slight departure from our usual material. For those of you just joining us, in our last episode, we wrapped up the first season of Risky Standard, a campaign of the Forged in the Dark mecha action tabletop role-playing game Beam Saber by Austin Ramsey. And pretty soon we are going to be starting season 2 of the show, where we will be playing another long-form campaign, this time utilizing the weird fantasy adventure RPG, The Wild Sea by Felix Isaacs. However, we are going to spend the next couple of episodes playing a few different one-shots and shorter adventures using a variety of games. And today, we are going to be playing Fiasco by Jason Morningstar from Bully Pulpit Games. There's a pretty good chance if you are listening to this, you are already familiar with Fiasco. For those who aren't, it is a classic, very popular story game that is used to tell stories of ne'er-do-wells and hapless bystanders getting caught up in disastrous schemes. To use the game's own words, Fiasco is inspired by cinematic tales of small-time capers gone disastrously wrong, particularly films like Blood Simple, Fargo, The Way of the Gun, Burn After Reading, and A Simple Plan. We'll play as ordinary people with powerful ambition and poor impulse control. There'll be big dreams and flawed execution. It won't go well for them, to put it mildly, and in the end, it will probably collapse into a glorious heap of jealousy, murder, and recrimination. Lives and reputations will be lost, painful wisdom will be gained, and if we're really lucky, our guys just might end up back where they started. Fiasco is, I think one of my favorite kind of games to play with folks who are new to tabletop role-playing games. I often pitch it as a game where we get together to improvise out a 2-act Coen Brothers movie. It functions fairly differently from some of the other games we've played on the show, like Beam Saber or other traditional RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons. There's going to be no game master in today's session. Very little in terms of dice rolling or using any other kind of mechanic to determine the results of our actions. Instead, we will be focused on telling a story together collaboratively and kind of following the narrative wherever it takes us. And so I'm going to read kind of the overview here that Fiasco gives us, just to kind of describe the basic structure of the game, give us a little bit of expectation, and then we can talk about exactly what we're going to try and do with Fiasco today, what kind of story we're going to tell. And then we'll make our characters together and start doing this thing. Fiasco is a highly collaborative game in which every player should always be engaged, either actively playing a character or throwing out suggestions, brainstorming scene ideas, and listening for ways to make each scene hit harder than the last. Because the pace is so frantic, every choice we make has to matter a lot. A game of Fiasco begins with the setup, a group activity where where you and your friends create a potent and unstable set of circumstances. You choose a playset, which fixes the game in a particular time and place, a contemporary southern town maybe, or the Old West. Using a pile of dice, you create an interconnected circle of relationships and details pulled from the playset. And once you've created a situation poised on the brink of juicy disaster, you define characters based on your choices. And once the setup is done, we'll play out scenes which focus on various characters in rotation. When it's our turn, we'll get to choose whether we want to establish the scene, setting the nature of the scene, any obvious conflict, the location, and the characters on hand, or resolve it, leaving the initial setup to our friends, but deciding on whether the outcome is positive or negative for our character. We cannot do both. It's always going to be one or the other. Play itself is divided into 2 acts, and at the end of the first act will be a tilt, where we will roll some dice to introduce some interesting and crazy twists that will show up in the second act to disrupt our story. And after the end of Act 2, we will play out an aftermath where we learn the ultimate fate of all of our characters. And yeah, with that said, I think we can kind of scoot over. We've got a very handy little Google Doc playmat that someone has posted on the Fiasco website that we're using to kind of keep track of everything as we go here. But let's talk about our playset, right? In addition to like the core rules of the Fiasco book itself, you always play using a playset, which is a thematic collection of relationships, needs, objects, and locations that we will use to define the type of story that we are telling together and to establish our characters. And today we have decided to use a fan-made playset called Blood and Ropes. It is a playset that was produced by James Gabrielson and Mache Sabat. Blood on the Ropes is about professional wrestling. I'm going to go ahead and read the description that James and Mache have given us here. Blood, sweat, and pain. The steel chair crashes against your back with a thunderous clap, and the crowd's roar signals you to drop and pretend you're out. As El Diablo turns his back to signal his victory, you make your move. He never sees your finisher coming. The crowd counts along with the referee. 1, 2, 3, and the victory is yours. You rise from the mat and raise your new championship belt overhead to an arena going mad. Professional wrestling is scripted, but it is not fake. The money, the fame, and glory are all very real, and the belts still go to those who work hardest. In the gym, on the microphone, in the ring. But some work, maybe most, the fans will never see. The underhanded backroom deals, the chemicals that performers pump into their bodies, the backstabbings that aren't a part of any angle. It takes a lot to get to the top, and a lot of people are fighting for it. So hold your new championship belt high. You earned it. And so yeah, we are going to use this playset today to create a set of characters and a set of story in the world of professional wrestling. Fiasco loves to point out its film inspirations. This fan playset is no different. It points out, obviously WWE, Raw, and SmackDown, but also things like The Wrestler, Rocky IV, Against the Ropes, Raging Bull. I think this was came out quite a few years ago, but the Iron Claw, which came out last year, I think is probably another good pull.
Hell yeah, I just watched that the other day,
and that's a great movie. It's also very sad.
Also, if you enjoyed the Iron Claw, watch the Dark Side of the Ring story about the Von Erichs, which is more detailed. The actual true story, even sadder than the story portrayed on the screen. So
I can't
that is
watch
true.
that. It's too scary. Too sad. I instead will be watching Unexplained, hosted by what's his name? The cat. Fuck, that's not a good story. I don't remember his name.
Hosted by someone.
What's his name? He was
Kane.
Captain Kirk.
William
William
Shatner?
Shatner?
William Shatner.
Yeah.
Really good story,
okay.
guys. Let's continue.
Be sure to
Also,
leave that one in.
quick plug. All of Dark Side of the Ring is very good. Wrestling destroys your life if you get involved in it. I think is the message.
Even as
But
a
it's
fan.
just such a great way to
Even
get
as a
rich.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tim.
And also worth noting, in a roundabout way, William Shatner was the guest host of Monday Night Raw on February 1st in the year 2010. So,
Wow.
Do you just know that off the top of your head, or?
It's power of Google, baby. Yeah, that is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be telling a little story about wrestling. I think we've talked a little bit about this beforehand. I think we have some ideas where this might be set, what we might, the kind of era of wrestling we might want to set this in, but we can talk about that in a second. As we start the setup. Setup is kind of the first part of a game of Fiasco. And fundamentally what we're going to do here is we have already rolled a bunch of dice into a central pile that we are all looking at. And our Fiasco playset is a collection of, like I said, details about relationships, objects, locations, and needs. Each of these is also associated with a number. So each of them has kind of a broader category and then a sub detail for that broader category. And each of those is numbered, right? So for example, when we're looking at relationships that define characters, a 1 could be rivals. And then beneath the rivals, there are 6 options, with 1 being legit heat, rivals both on and off the camera, or a 6 being executives from competing promotions. And what we are going to do as a table is we are going to put down, if we were playing in person, these would be note cards in between us. Instead, they're little note card icons on our map here. But between each of us, each player is going to have a relationship with a category and a defining element. And then between each character, and each player rather, there is also going to be a secondary detail, which will either be a need in this, which could be something like needs to get to the top, could be of the promotion, of the box office, or it could be to get revenge. And there's another whole collection of sub details there. It could be a location, either in the media, in the arena, backstage, etc. It might be an object that defines our relationship, whether that is a championship belt, enough pyrotechnic packages to blow this place to kingdom come, or an angry crowd about to erupt. But all of these will characterize the relationship between the two players they sit between. And then we will use those to kind of massage the details into place and figure out what characters we're playing today and what the story that we're trying to explore is. So we've chosen a playset. We have our pile of randomly rolled dice. And the next step is to combine the two. We start with the player who grew up in the smallest town, and then we will take turns building the web of information in rotation. We do this by looking over the playset lists, grabbing a die from the central pile with a number that matches an element we are interested in, and then filling that out on the cards on the table as we start to kind of fill in all these details and build these relationships. So, I think I grew up in the smallest town.
No, I think we've had this conversation
No way.
before. It's usually I think it's Pete. Pete. Oh, hold on, Pete. What town did you grow up in again? We'll do population as it is now.
Oh,
population now?
Jesus.
I'm the big city boy.
Yeah.
Plainville, Michigan.
Plainwell. Oh yeah. So it goes Pete, me, then Mitch, and then Big City Tim with a El Cajon, California.
Wait, I want to hear the respective population sizes.
El Cajon, the population is 478,000 people, so almost 100,000. Collinsville, Oklahoma, 9,296.
Okay.
Orange, Massachusetts, 7,558. And Plainwell, Michigan is 3,747.
The way this is going to work, we are going to go around taking turns using the dice to select elements from our playset to fill them out for each other. And so as a reminder, there's going to be 2 cards between each person. A relationship card that will have a category and then a defining element. And then a second card, which can be either a need, a location, or an object. We need to have at least one of each in the game overall. And we cannot define an element before we have defined a category. So we would have to, just for example here, if we're doing relationships, we would have to define family and friends before we could define something like parent-child wrestling dynasty or identical twins. No one is sure which is the evil one. So we would have to define that family and friends category first before we can hit that detail.
And I can choose from any of these, or we have to go
you don't have to start with a relationship. I mean, relationships are nice because they're easy. It's worth, maybe I'll just run through here real quick, right? There are relationships. There are 6 categories for relationships. It is rivals, family and friends, money, backstage, in the ring, or finally back alley. And each of those has like a subcategory, or a definition for that broader category. The needs in this game are to get to the top, to get rich, to get revenge, to raise hell, to fuck, or to escape. The locations: in the media, in the arena, backstage, a cheap hotel, a parking lot, or dark and dangerous. And then the object categories here are valuable objects, objects in the arena, objects found backstage, dangerous objects, ring setup objects, or sick objects.
Boy, it's tough. I'm just going through them all here.
It in fact was tough. Hello, one and all risk takers. My name is Liam Doherty, and I'm the new producer for the show. I just wanted to take a second to introduce myself. The boys recently added me on to help with recording and editing, and I could not be more happy to be here. This next part is about a 5-minute montage / mashup of about an hour and a half of content for the setup for their session of Blood on the Ropes. Before they get into playing, Mitch does do a full summary of all of their decisions, so you won't miss out on any of the details. So for now, just enjoy a bit of riffing and prepare to expand your wrestling lexicon.
You and me, man, we're gonna be fucking rich.
Listener, you are about to receive an education in the different eras of wrestling throughout the duration. I know I'm looking forward to learning more.
In professional wrestling, there's a term that is used sometimes called kayfabe, which refers to the sort of maintenance of the fiction of wrestling, right? It is the tacit agreement between wrestlers to pretend that the interactions that take place in the ring, or sometimes in public even, are real.
I'm going to pull this 4, and I'm going to define the object between Malcolm and I. In the arena, the element is poorly rigged pyrotechnics. Real smoke show.
I'm being kind of cornered out of the ring. That's fine, boys. That's fine. I don't even like wrestling, so who gives a shit?
He's crying now. Look what you guys have done.
Who put backstage? You're the real culprit here.
That's me, actually. I did that.
Yeah, that was you. Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to give me and Tim a need here. I think that we need to get revenge.
I can see you in a little like smoking a cigar, watching
Like, hit it again.
Frog Splash.
Those of you unfamiliar with wrestling terms, the heel is the bad guy, the foil to the baby face. The baby face is the good guy, I'm thinking.
And I'm the bad boy, so obviously just wanted to put that out there. I'm the bad boy. Okay, I guess 2 best friends but bitter enemies inside the ring.
For who? You and me?
Between you and Malcolm?
Oh, all right. I'm seeing this coming together.
I just really am forcing a scene where somebody gets gigged.
Probably someone's going to bleed in the ring no matter what. Wait, this is blood on the ropes, baby.
I think this game is actually called Blood and Ropes, but I like Blood on the Ropes a lot more.
Oh, I've read it as blood on the ropes every single time.
Yeah, Panic in the Disco.
Panic at the Disco.
I'm sorry, Panic at the
Panic
Disco.
and the Disco.
Sex in the City.
So yeah, as the book tells us, at this point we have a big pile of intermingled relationships, dangerous obsession or two, and some tasty places and things to wrap them around. Now is the time to get the game into focus, because leaving things to be fleshed out in play can weaken them. So we're going to work as a team to define who we are based on our particular pair of relationships. And quite often these are going to be unequal, freighted by differences in power and status. And once we've firmed up the situation and everyone agrees that it's solid, then we will be ready to play. Try and turn this amorphous collection of relationships and objects and needs and locations into a framework for a story. Does anybody know who they are yet? Does somebody have that
name? I was thinking of Dangerous Dieter Skank.
Oh, the Dangerous Dieter Skank.
It's like a Evel Knievel adjacent sort of thing. I think it's like his thing is like stunts. He's gotten older. I'm imagining Dieter is kind of like a big man. Maybe wasn't always, but it's kind of like aged into being a little less mobile.
I'm thinking I'm like injured or retired. Pete is like sort of reaching that age. He's aging out. I had an accident in the ring, something. I slipped a disc. I like walk with like a cane now, right? But I'm still a trainer. And I still know the ins and outs. I'm still involved in the production. You're aging out. You're kind of on this, this is maybe your last circuit that you're doing. But we came up running the same thing in like whatever 20 years ago.
Yeah, the playbook worked.
Like you refuse to step down for whatever. You like
Yeah, I'm not quitting. I'm still. They love me. The people love me.
What are you talking about? They love me. They're chanting my name every single night.
Why would I quit? Yeah.
So I've kind of come up with an idea. His name is Bonnie Parker McDade. He's sort of like a Scottish sort of folk hero type of character. He's a more classical type of wrestler. He didn't really wear a costume in the ring. He just wore like a leotard and big boots.
And then Tim and I's relationship is a back alley relationship, partners in crime. What if we're doing like a Miami Vice kind of thing?
Ooh.
Like, what if you and me are both doing kind of like Miami Vice, kind of like
slick,
cool guy?
We're cops, but we do it kind of different than you might think. Ooh, Polly Primo, the quality.
Ooh. All right, so that is the end of setup. And with the end of setup, we now have all of our relationships and kind of like a good rough sketch of who these characters are. So the next stage is going to be Act 1, where we start actually playing some scenes with these folks. But I think before we do that, I just want to kind of like make sure that there's no like last minute changes we want to make here before we get going. But right now we're looking at, I'm just going to go in kind of character order here and like look at who we have and what is between these characters. So Pete, you're going to be playing the Dangerous Dieter Skank, who is a kind of Evel Knievel inspired gimmick. You are the biggest face in the company. You are connected to Tim and his character by in the ring. Your relationship is that you are the biggest heel and the biggest face in the promotion. And you are also in this story connected by a location, which is in the arena. And the specifics there are the light rigging high above the ring. Maybe, as we start to set things up, we can also figure out what arena that is, where we normally wrestle at. You are also connected to Malcolm. You are rivals who are best friends in real life, but bitter enemies in the ring. And also connected by the object here, which is it's an in the arena object. And the specific element here is a set of poorly rigged pyrotechnics, which is affecting, I think, mostly Malcolm's character here, who is I got this right, Bonnie Parker McDade, who's like a Scottish kind of gimmicked wrestler, a former heel who was rivals with Dieter Skank back in Dieter's heyday.
Back in Dieter's day.
I think we're saying Dieter's kind of like on his way out, right? He's kind of like he's older.
Probably been in the circuit for like 15 years at this point.
Yeah. Like like we're saying 1985 for the year. Like in the late 70s, I imagine in like the 70s, Dieter was like huge in the Great Northwestern Wrestling Federation.
And he's still huge. People love that. People love this stuff.
Yeah. But Bonnie Parker McDade was injured in some kind of stunt involving poorly rigged pyrotechnics, and afterwards forced to kind of retire from wrestling. And instead, you are now the head trainer backstage. And that relationship is shared with me. I'm your prodigy. My character is. And between you and me, Malcolm, we also have a need, which is to get rich by ripping the company off, ripping off the Great Northwestern Wrestling Federation. And I am playing Sammy, Smooth Operator Styles, who is a younger wrestler. As we kind of said here, my relationship with you, Malcolm, is I'm a prodigy. I think I'm kind of like a young hotshot, really, really talented in the ring physically. And my primary kind of thing here is that I have a relationship with Tim's character. Is that our relationship is a back alley relationship. We're partners in crime, which I think we're kind of talking about as like, we're both kind of menaces backstage. We're younger, we're partying, we are probably getting into trouble with the authorities a little bit, causing a ruckus, right? Bullying other wrestlers, kind of throwing our weight around. But I also have the need between me and Tim to get revenge by stabbing your best friend in the back, because Tim is playing Paulie, the quality primo. And together we are like kind of a part of a heel stable that is vaguely influenced by Miami Vice. I floated earlier the Vice Squad as like a possible name for our sort of heel faction. But we are swiftly coming up, and you are the biggest heel in the promotion, Tim. Which is like, that's in your relationship between you and Dieter Skank. And so I think there's like some like boiling resentment going on there on my behalf, that I'm a better wrestler than you, but you're the one who is getting the push. And I think we're thinking this is all culminating towards like, there's some kind of big event soon, right? That is going to be, I imagine, where Dieter Skank drops the belt to Paulie Primo, and Paulie Primo gets kind of crowned as the new, superstar of the company, the kind of like reigning champion. Always fun to have a heel champion for a little while, so you can build up a new baby face, right? And this is maybe a way of quietly sending off.
New? What do we need a new one for? Got one right here.
And so who knows? Maybe my getting revenge is also somehow tied into this need to get rich by ripping the company off. We can kind of figure that out as we go, as we start setting this stuff up. But those are what we have on the board. That's the kind of like loose sketch of these characters and the situation. And we can kind of fill in those details more as we start doing scenes, which is going to be the next part of play. So with our setup done, we move onto the next phase of play, which is Act 1, as I said. We should meet our guys and see the dynamics of their relationships in action. Everything we do should foreshadow things to come. If we see a machete, it's going to hack some stuff to pieces later in the game. This is our time to set things up and, right as we kind of close out the act, maybe begin to knock them down. And so the way that this works, we are going to take turns. And when it is our turn, our character gets a scene. We're going to do this until only half of the dice that we have remain in our central pile, which means for us that each character is going to get 2 scenes. And when it is our turn, our character is in the spotlight, and we choose to establish or resolve the scene. If you are establishing, you create a scene. If you are resolving, we ask our friends to create a scene for our character. We will start playing the scene, and at some point during that scene, we have to determine the outcome. If we established the scene ourselves, then our friends and fellow players will give us a white or a black die, signaling a positive or a negative outcome for our character. If we choose to resolve the scene ourselves, we get to pick the die and the outcome. And the reason we're grabbing these die to kind of mark these resolutions is that we will then later use these dice to kind of help us randomize and inform what is going to happen later on in the story and ultimately how the story ends. And then, with the scene, the resolution established, we finish the scene informed by that color choice. Like I said, it's going to be 2 scenes per character. We're going to kind of go in a circle, the same order that we have been this whole time. When it's our turn, we choose to either establish or resolve the scene. If we establish, the other players get to choose how it ends. If we choose to resolve, the other players set us up, and then we decide how it ends for our character. Any questions there, or any last points we want to hit before we start playing out some scenes?
No, I'm good.
I got the top Hot 100 singles of 1985 up, so I'm ready
I also was looking at that earlier. I think we could keep going in small town order. I think that is you to start, Pete, the face of the Great Northwestern Wrestling Federation, dangerous Dieter Skank.
Were you gonna say something?
I was just saying. So first, you do choose: are you establishing a scene, or are you resolving it?
I'm gonna establish here. I think, and I think we've said this out loud. The Great Northern Wrestling Federation is like the home circuit of the Tacoma Dome, right?
I don't know if we've actually said that out loud. I think it's something we've maybe talked about. I don't really know the size of the Tacoma Dome. I guess 21,000. Kind of big.
I honestly thought we made up the Tacoma Dome like some time ago, and it was only when I was like driving with Tim in Seattle where I was like, "No shit, that's real, huh?"
Actually, that was me.
Oh, you?
We drove past it in
that's
21.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. If you've got any friends from Tacoma, a great nickname for them is Domers. I'm a fucking Domer.
I feel like it's kind of big for our regular shows, but I feel like the Tacoma Dome is maybe where we hold like our like big, like maybe once or twice a year we do kind of like a big match, and that's when we do this big arena.
This is like the SummerSlam.
This is our
maybe
If anyone has a
Great
name
Northern
for what this is.
They got a Portland Coliseum.
This is the Timberland title, the Salmon Slammer. This is the greatest of the Great Northern. So I'm gonna establish, and I think as the opening scene of this movie starts to roll, you hear just the cheers of crowds screaming from across, and we see on stage, I think silhouetted by kind of the blaring lights and cheering crowds here, maybe our first glance at Dieter from behind. And we've talked about Dieter Little. I think you see kind of this is probably in the past, like probably the year flashes up on screen. It's 1971. We're kind of in the golden era of franchise wrestling, and Dieter is wearing I think not dissimilar from like an Evel Knievel jumpsuit. So stars and stripes, blue, red, and white. I think we see one leg over a dirt bike here, and their engine is just like revving at the top of this ramp with the Timberland pines just kind of reaching out behind us here, kind of stretching at the horizon. You can see the mountains. And I think like in quick succession, right? Like as Dieter gets ready to perform a stunt over this, the number of times, I think, is what I'm trying to get across this, where it's like we're kind of flipping between the years, right, of this stunt. And I think, the camera kind of pans around. We get like a 360 here from stage to outdoor event to, I don't know what we're calling, like the Summer Slam. As the years go by, these like stunts are kind of sometimes big events. Sometimes it's like people are kind of coming to this area for the wrestling. Finally, as we kind of like see the years kind of shuttling by, you see Dieter's kind of curly blondish mullet get grayer over the years as it's sailing through the air. The one I want to kind of like set up here is maybe this is the ribbon cutting on the Tacoma Dome. And the big stunt is Dieter's going to kind of hit this ramp and like break the ribbon right out in front of it.
So you're doing like actual motorcycle stunts, just to be clear.
These are actual stunts. And I think like...
And Pete can do them in real life too.
And I can also do them in real life,
Yeah.
yes. I come to think of it, I do have a 1974 motorcycle, but probably not suited for this. I'm hitting upwards of 40, 50 miles an hour. And, revving, I think coming through this, what I think lands on the other side is like all the other wrestlers in this circuit. And as, Dieter sails through the air, I think landing again, kind of bumpy. We've maybe seen this stunt a dozen times, but this one is like, to the trained eye, I think you can see is a little touch and go there for a minute. And maybe Dieter starting to show his age. I think lands this ramp here and maybe, kind of does a little bit of like a fishtail donut sort of thing. And I think as our camera kind of pans up around a lot of the wrestlers here who are also standing, next to the mayor, the city council's here, our commissioner. And I think as like the camera pans around everybody in this like semicircle, you can kind of like see a lot of, Bonnie Parker McDade's here. Got some of these new young guns, Sammy Smooth Operator Styles, Paulie Primo. And you can
we're
kinda
there,
see
but
some
we're
eyes
sitting in
rolling.
a convertible car and watching.
Oh,
We're
cool.
not-
Yeah, that's tight. Yeah, offsides here. You're leaning up against it, smoking cigarettes or something.
ripping butts by the car.
And the crowd is there, but it's like the group assembled has kind of seen this all before, so they're like, oh yeah, here he goes. And Dieter's just lost in the spotlight. It's like, yeah, thank you. And I think as the crowd pans out here in 1984, the kind of contrast to 1971, huge. They were going nuts. And as this camera maybe zooms out after landing this stunt, we see audience is maybe not quite as big as it was for when Dieter was pulling this off earlier. It's kind of mostly like the assembled news circuit and like the people who are paid to be there. But you wouldn't know it because for Dieter, this is like when we maybe flash back to behind him, in his head is like we're still seeing the crowd absolutely packed with, young people, screaming fans. And I think, Dieter lands it and is like, woo, man, it feels good to be dangerous. Thank you, Tacoma. So glad to be here. Wouldn't miss it for a minute. Just want to give a shout out to our stable of young up-and-comers. Someday they're going to be great. I'm looking at you, convertible boys. Maybe does a wheelie. Get a load of this.
In that moment, from the convertible, tosses one of the cigarette butts out the window and turn up the song Out of Touch by Daryl Hall and John Oates. Saying nothing and just, tilt the sunglasses down, push them back up.
So we have to decide as a group, the three of us, does this scene end negatively or positively for Peter's character, for the dangerous Dieter Skank?
I think maybe like
negative. I think so. My gut feeling's negative, right?
He fucked his hip up or something. Like it's gonna be hard to walk out of there or something.
Can I pitch something here? Maybe.
Absolutely.
We've talked about this idea that like, right, there's an event coming up. What if this is like the moment Dieter gets informed that he's going to have to lose the title, right? He's going to have to go into.
Or what if it's like one more, Dieter's like walking up to the podium and, the like commissioner or whatever is like, actually, you're not speaking today. Like, you're done.
Yeah.
He's like ready to kind of give the stump speech before they're like, actually, you're all set. Like you can go, you're done for today.
Who's our promoter? That maybe, like that, I like the idea that it's like, that's the guy who's like, actually, you're not going to be the one who announced this today.
I'll just throw some names out. I got Sean Foote, David Hollandaise. Any of these working for
Rip
you?
Rose, King Rip Rose. The
Rip Rose is good. Rip
Foot
Rose.
is very funny to have in a name, though.
Yeah, Foot is very funny to have in
having
a
Foot in there. Especially as like the main promoter. What was it? Something
Sean Foote.
Sean Foot. Yeah, let's call Sean Foot. It's funny to.
I just googled Sean Foote. Also, don't do that. You're just gonna get a picture of a guy's foot. So we're saying Sean Foote, the owner and promoter of the Great Northwestern Wrestling Federation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we kind of land this. Dieter's kind of in his own world in his head here. Is like thanking all the audience that's not really present here. It's mostly like news cameras and like people who have to be here. And doesn't make a difference to him. And I think he starts kind of walking over to the podium just to thank our sponsors and say, how great it is. And I think like, what's Sean Foote like? I think he's like a big man. Rotund, packed into a tight little suit, but it's flashy. Like I think he's probably more along the lines of the Vice squad here. Like big suit, big shoulders. I think like probably smoking a cigar.
Is he the owner of this, or is he's just a promoter? This is not the character we decided was my.
This is the owner. I think this should be the owner, and the promoter is the owner, right? I think the guy who owns the promotion is also probably
So is that then also my dad?
We talked about that. I mean, I don't know if we said that on camera before, but I think that's I think it's a fun idea if you are the son of the promotion owner, and that is why you're getting the push.
Yeah, that would also be funny because
Sean
Primo's
Foote.
Not your real last name. Your real last name is Foot.
Paul Foot.
Paul Foot.
I think this should be your dad, right? That's like a fun. Why am I pissed at you? Because you're like nepotism has put you at the front of the line, even though I'm the person who should deserve it.
Paul Foot.
But yeah, so you're coming up to this guy who I imagine, like maybe Dieter's about to take the stage, and Paul Foot, like kind of not Paul Foot, Sean Foot, sorry, his Mr. Foot.
That's Mr. Foot.
Yeah, Foote, I think.
Mm-hmm.
One kind of like meaty palm up. I think a lot of rings, right? Like a certain kind of like 80s flash. I'm thinking about like Ric Flair here. You can't not think about Ric Flair here. Be like Dieter. That's all right. You just you hang back. I'm gonna cover this announcement.
What? You serious? They came here to see you?
Dieter, they came for the joy and beauty of the Great Northwestern Wrestling Federation. You're a key part of that, son. Hand on shoulder, probably like maybe 10 years younger than Dieter Skank, or maybe about the same age. I think like slightly younger. Either way, still calling you son, right?
Yeah. Well, I understand that. This is your day, boss.
Would he break
don't forget who makes the show happen.
Does he break the news to you here, right? Or maybe it's after. Okay, I think first what happens is probably he goes up, right? There's like the kind of dissembling of like, thank you to the mayor, to our city council for being here today, and thank you so much for the opportunity to showcase some of the growing talents here in the Great Northwestern Wrestling Federation. We are proud to be a part of this community. And we're equally proud to announce that this summer's Salmon Slam is going to be here at the Tacoma Dome. And you're going to get to watch firsthand as the dangerous Dieter Skank. And
I think he's holding the belt up.
Yeah. Quiet crowd.
Yeah.
Defends. What do we call it? Defends the Timberland title, the Great Northwestern World Heavyweight Championship against the Quality himself, Paulie Primo of the Vice Squad.
The heat is on starts playing. Also funny because he is still also walking up to no crowd there.
Yeah, still a quiet response, but maybe slightly livelier.
Well, I would say like maybe people are clapping, right? Like this is where the interns and the news crews are assembled. Are like, oh, okay, all right, like this is new, this is cool. Like they actually do like primo, and I think Dieter's visibly uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, I think my guy's like arms crossed behind Paulie, like trying to kind of get in like the frame as people are taking photos as well. Like,
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, this new stadium is going to be the dawning of a new era, huh? Something fresh, something new.
And something classic, and the same you always love with the death-defying stunts that you can't see anywhere else. And that, my friends, you can't replace.
Great to see you here, buddy.
I'm glad you could make it. You seem pretty busy, but...
Yeah, I got business to attend to. The quality doesn't sleep too much, okay?
Yeah, and then it's like we're kind of like loudly bickering to like no one in particular. There's not like booing in the crowd.
But I think maybe, there's like a moment after this when like the crowd is kind of quieting, dispersing, right? Like kind of like people are getting in cars and leaving, there's like some of the glam, right? People are changing out of like their wrestling outfits or whatever into like regular clothes to get out of here. And I think Mr. Foot comes to Dieter, right? And is like, listen, is Dieter Skank your real name? Do you have like a...
Yeah, I think Skank is his real. Dieter Skank's his real name.
So, a name that makes you get into wrestling.
And again, hand on the shoulder. It's like, we can talk about this more. Just get it in your head. Start thinking about it. We're gonna send you off with style. I think it's time. You got to do business with Paulie. You heard it, the crowd today. He's hot. That title's gonna change hands at Salmon Slam. Let's make sure it's a show to remember.
Oh, you can guarantee that, Foot. I think he's like patting the belt. We'll see about your boy. And he's got some big shoes to fill.
So when we resolve a scene, we say this ends negatively for you, right? You're being told you have to lose the belt. We give you a black dice from the pool of dice that we have. And I guess, again, this will become relevant later when we kind of resolve the tilt and the aftermath. But in the first act, instead of keeping the die from your resolution, you hand it to another player. So who do you want to give a black dice to?
I'm going to give it to Paulie.
And then we'll roll these at the tilt to see who gets to choose the tilt elements. And again, at the aftermath. And so generally speaking, in a metagame sense for the aftermath, you want to have a high number in one color. That'll give your character the best chance of not having things end terribly for them. But, you can also roll with the punches and see where you end up. But that is kind of how that will come into effect later. But I think maybe that's a good place if we want to move on to our next scene to get Bonnie Parker McDade.
I think the scene opens up. It's we maybe we're facing sort of it's a dark bathroom, right? And where the camera's looking into like the mirror, and we see sort of a crack of light in the reflection, and then the door opens up, and a silhouetted silhouetted figure walks into the bathroom and like turns on the light, and we are met with Bonnie, not so Bonnie anymore, Parker McDade. We look in the mirror and we see, much of his, half of his sort of face and most of his, scalp is scarred and burned. And, he takes a look in the mirror and then opens up the medicine, chest, reaches in for a bottle of pills, throws some pills back and chases it with like a half drunk beer that's by the sink.
That's a breakfast beer.
It's a breakfast beer, yeah. And just sort of like stares in the mirror, and then we cut to we're in the the training facility. And there's wrestlers about. It's kind of early-ish in the morning. They're warming up, they're doing some push-ups, stretching, and Parker walks in, and he's like, all right, ladies, line up. I want 50 drops from every one of you now, and then they start lining up and they start slamming.
What are the like new recruits here like the kind of group you're training up? Are they, like, are we talking like these are high school kids, training? Or are they
No.
like, recruits from the local franchises?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are, they're all hoping for, I think maybe this is like later level tryouts. It's not the final, 4 that are going to get a chance in the ring.
Some of them still figuring out what their gimmick is.
Exactly. This has been, 2 or 3 sessions in, and 2 people are going to go home today and not come back.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that we know yet here, or is it just like Bonnie and these like trainees?
I don't know. Is anyone here?
I'm gonna guess like your protege is, right, Sammy?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Oh, you're putting in the work. Polly's not necessarily here to.
Yes.
What am I doing? I'm not.
Yeah. Maybe I come in.
Asleep.
Maybe I come in like as you're kind of. I'm coming in a little late because I'm like. I am still though like a step above these guys, right? Like I'm already in the.
Yeah.
I'm wrestling in shows, right? And I imagine also maybe the way that the GNWF works is like the biggest shows are the GNWF shows, but all of these kind of like smaller promotions in the area all kind of like feed into our bigger promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And, the WWF is starting somewhere now. It's getting bigger, but it hasn't like swallowed up all of the territories yet. So we're still kind of the biggest deal in the Pacific Northwest. And probably in like 5 years, unfortunately, we are going to get eaten by the McMahon machine, but it hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? In this timeline, maybe he died on the toilet and it didn't happen. But yeah, so I think I come in like a little bit later, right? And I think Sammy Styles, I think like, I think I've name called it already, but like, Scott Hall as like Razor Ramon is very much in my head a little bit. Right. Like, I think my hair's already slicked back.
Mm-hmm.
I've got like I am a white guy, to be clear, but I do have enough of a tan, like a fake tan going on that like I play the character like just slightly racially ambiguous, like in the ring. Big mustache, and kind of like a shit eating, just like a big cocky grin on my face as I come in, duffel bag over my shoulder, and it's like slam, 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 slam of like these guys taking bumps, and then like I drop my bag on the ground as like the kind of like the last slam in the procession.
I think Parker doesn't even look at you. He's eyes on the these trainees. He's wearing a kilt. I still think that he is like still kind of playing that character, even though it is like officially retired.
Yeah.
Probably like within kayfabe, like he's dead.
Yeah, sure,
yeah.
Big question for me. I don't think we've answered this yet. Is Bonnie Parker actually Scottish, or was that like
no? He's probably German or something. I don't know. He's probably just some like his real name is like Robert Strakowski or something like that. He's like Polish or something.
It's Polish, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Representing Polish, that's important to me.
And I think I come over to like check in with Bonnie. I'm kind of like giving like my evaluating eye over these students who are kind of like training and doing their thing.
Yeah, I think Dieter's probably making his way to the scene at some point. Just kind of like whatever in the offices or something, like imagine this is kind of like at the HQ, and coming out eventually to kind of see what's going on over here.
Maybe I like we see Dieter in the background and I nudge Bonnie. I am like I was talking to Paulie last night. Says his dad finally broke the news to old Skank. He's dropping the belt at Salmon Slam this year. How do you think the old man's taking it?
Knowing him not well, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We can't keep doing this forever.
And I think, we pan over to Dieter, who's like pointing out all these belts and like, jerseys up on the wall. And I think he's probably telling these recruits, and if you're good, you can do this forever.
The sky's the limit.
And
I think he's taken maybe a few too many hits to the head, I think.
Hey, who hasn't in this business? And I think I look a little, shifty look left and right, leaning in a little closer. You think, you really think Prince Paulie's got what it takes to be a GNWF champion?
You want to know what I really think?
Of course, Bonnie.
Paulie's about as good as any of these new recruits we have here, which is to say that he ain't worth his salt. It should be you. You should be ascending the throne, the sockeye throne. Be winning this Ham and Slam if I had my ways, but I don't know. As long as we got the foot on our neck, so to speak, it's not much I can do about it. He kind of grunts, and then he reaches into his pocket and fishes out a loose pill, kind of looks at it and tosses it in his mouth, and chews it too.
Oh.
Maybe at this moment, way too loud for any type of music, to be played in a training facility. Paulie walks in, blasting Dire Straits' Money for Nothing, just smoking a cigarette and doing again, listeners, you might be surprised. I don't work out. That's not my thing, but doing the most showy type of working out that doesn't really do anything, just kind of pumping weights and smoking a cigarette at the same time. He's really
undeniably cool.
Buying in, just doing vanity workout kind of stuff. As he comes in, he's not doing slam with any of these fucking, kids. Why would I need to do that? I just got to get in fighting shape, and truly obnoxious, taking way too much space up in this training facility, music blasting too loud, and not saying anything to anyone, because why would he need to do that?
Unfortunately, this is where promotions are going. They're flashy. They're all show. There used to be real athleticism in the sport.
I think Dieter probably walks over right from, I think he's talking with some trainees. Maybe they're doing push-ups or whatever. And then over at the weight bench here where Paulie's, stunting, I think Dieter walks up, I think snatches the cigarette out of his mouth, snubs it out. It's like, what do you think you're doing?
What do I think I'm doing? I'm getting ready. Look at this body. You got to keep this. I'm posing like a cool muscle man, but do what I want. What do you mean? What am I doing? What are you doing?
Look, jackass, the cameras are off. Okay, you can get in the gym and you can get disciplined. Or you can get out of here. We'll see how ready you are. But if you're going to come in and distract these hardworking Americans, he's in the in the stars and stripes here. We don't, nobody's watching. Okay, everybody's here to get some work done. So why don't you go find your daddy? Go show him your new tricks.
I know it seems like someone's paying an awful lot of attention to me right now. I'd say, why don't you get on your bike and get out of my face?
This is your first
old man
and final warning, Paulie.
I don't get warnings. Not from me.
Deal.
I think, aside to Sammy, and he's like, I wish they'd save it for the ring.
And I think Sammy kind of leans in at this point, and is looking at Dieter, and then looks at Sammy and looks at Sammy in a way that's you can very clearly see my eyes are scanning over the burns on your face and kind of down your neck, right? Kind of making a show of noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I say something, I'm Foot family has never been too great to really either of us, seems like.
What do you mean?
And I look at Dieter, right, who's kind of like we're seeing that scene that just happened like a little bit like from the other side, right? He's chewing out Polly right now, and I say, his stunt goes wrong, you get all burned up, and what do we get for you're the coach here. He's still the biggest star, and I say, I heard one of the boys say GNWF didn't even pay for your hospital stay after that whole stunt. That true?
I think a steely glance. He's like, yeah, I mean, it was paid for, but not by them.
And then I look at Paulie and I say, I love Paulie. He's my dude. He's my ride or die. He's the Crockett to my Tubbs. That's a Miami Vice reference, everyone.
Okay.
Over my head, but I believe it.
But you've seen me. You see me in this training facility. You see me in the ring. I've got it. But he's the golden boy. His daddy runs the promotion, controls the purse strings, and he's the one who gets to go for the big singles push. What's going to happen to me? We were a tag team act, and now what am I just going to be some jobber, some mid-card has-been? I deserve to be on that stage holding that belt up. You deserve to be on stage holding that belt up. And yet, here we are. I think we also, just to remember, we do have to decide how the scene ends for Malcolm's character, which is probably maybe something we should move towards soon.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I think we're reaching the end.
This is a good little setup. I'm going to say this scene, my suggestion would be, I think this scene resolves positively for Bonnie. This is like, we see the kind of like, the wheels click and you're like, maybe it is time to get even, maybe they did do you dirty.
Yeah. And so maybe, it's like, it ends positively for you. So maybe this is like, I'm like, I don't know if this is positive enough for you, Malcolm. You can guide me here, but I think maybe Sammy leans in and says something to that effect of like, I've been thinking. I think maybe there's a way. Come Salmon Slam. You and me could get what we're owed from this company. We're owed from the Foot family.
Get what's ours.
Exactly.
I think maybe he looks over, there's like a bell, like a brass bell for the ring,
Yeah.
And he looks in and he sees his reflection in the brass bell, and he sees, it's twisted and distorted. And he goes like, okay, I'm listening.
Good.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
And so that is a white dice for you, Malcolm, that you then have to give to a different player. So who do you want to give a white dice to?
I'll give it to you.
All right, I'll take a little white dice. Maybe things will end really good for me.
Yes, Fiasco. Ending good for people.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the scenes continue. The turn order comes to me. And I think I'm gonna follow suit for everyone else here, and that I'm gonna also establish. I feel like first scene it's hard to like ask someone else to set you up. So I'm gonna establish. Yeah, this is gonna be like maybe a little bit more color for Sammy and less of like a dialogue heavy scene, at least at first. And I think there's like a little bit of a parallel with Bonnie here, right? Which is I think like we open to the sound of like an alarm clock blaring, and it's like the radio kicks on. And I've also been looking up the hit singles from the early 1980s. I think it's like Quiet Riot, Come On, Feel the Noise, right? Which we'll also have the rights to when we air this, so don't worry, guys. But I think it's like Sammy lying in bed, and then like eyes open, and it's like a dead stare. I think Sammy has like is like expressionless. And I think we start off with like kind of like a montage of like Sammy Styles' morning routine, right? And it's like, I almost imagine like camera is like locked on my face, right? And so as I sit up, the camera moves with it. So it's saying that same, right? It's kind of like a lock on my face as I go about my morning routine at first. And it's like, cracking some eggs into like a dirty cup. We can see as I'm moving around my apartment that the place is trashed, right? Downing the eggs. Big stack of mail on my like kitchen counter, and it's like, the camera catches, like all of them have like big red like overdue stamps on the front, right? I got bills to pay. It's like in the bathroom, it is like shaving but not shaving all the way, so I still have this kind of like dirty 5 o'clock stubble. Slicking back the hair. I'm imagining like
several times.
Several times. It's the 80s in the wrestling, right? A little bit of white powder on the sink.
Oh yeah.
Up, like staring into the mirror, still like dead-eyed and expressionless, right? Getting in like a shitty little truck, driving to the gym. I wrote Olympus gym in my notes. And then, this is, I think we see as like the timing, right? It is me going to the scene that we just had, right? But like dead face, I get out of the truck, duffel bag on. And like right as I walk through the doors of the gym, like face goes from like dead to like big sleazy smile, right? Like putting on the face. And I think we get then, a cut here where it's like the thing that just happens.
The scene we just saw.
Yeah, you're right. Like we can see me, like, like the camera, like I walk past the camera and it turns to follow me walking towards Bonnie Parker, and we can see that is like about to be the scene that we just had, right? This was my morning leading up to that. And then I think maybe we cut to like shitty dive bar, right? I'm wearing like the same outfit. And I think Bonnie is too. It's the two of us at a bar. So it's like we can carry on. This is later that day. And I think let's get a little like, right. There needs to be, we need to rip off the company to get rich. That is the need that you and I have, Malcolm, right? And so I'm trying to think of exactly what the play is here. I think, I've got like a bunch of papers laid out on the table that are like blueprints of the Tacoma Dome. Right?
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, now Bonnie, I've been talking to a girl who works in the mayor's office. She does permits, that kind of thing. But we got to talking, and she was able to get me a copy of this. And I start like kind of like looking at it, and I tell you, you know what Mr. Foot does first thing after a show starts every night?
What's that?
He gets handed a big envelope full of cash. That night's guarantee for the show. Always cash.
I guess I did know that. I thought that you knew something I didn't know.
No, yeah. Well, okay. Well, listen, I'm just.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Foot takes that cash. You know this, Bonnie. You've been here longer than I do. He takes that straight to his office, wherever his office happens to be in that particular arena. He keeps a lockbox in that room, and he's got two of our boys, two of the big ones usually, watching that door the rest of the night while he makes sure the show goes off without a hitch. Tacoma Dome seats 20,000 people. You know what kind of guarantee we're looking at for an arena that size? It's the biggest show the GNWF's ever pulled.
It could be upwards of $1 million.
Well, listen, don't get too crazy. That seems like a lot of money to have in cash, actually. Like,
That's a lot of money in the year that we're in, 1985.
You're damn right.
And so, I think it's like not always the same boys. He is a rotating crew. One year I got to be the boy, stood in front of that door, made sure no one was going to come knocking. But different venue, different time. But I think I start kind of like, I've got like a marker and I've been kind of like, I've already highlighted some things, right? And I'm like, there's an emergency exit tunnel, down the hall from where they have designated what will be, Mr. Foot's office for that evening. Now, normally, those boys watching the door, they never leave. That's big orders from Mr. Foot. I remember when I did it, gave me a pair of brass knuckles, keep in the back pocket just to make sure nothing untoward happened.
Mm-hmm.
But two smart guys like us, maybe we could work something out, get those guys away from the door. It should be me in that ring, and you should be handing the belt to me. This should be, one great wrestler passing the torch to another. Instead, we got one has-been passing the belt to I want to say a Nepo baby, but I don't think that terminology is going to exist for another 20 years. So let's
Rich kid, silver spoon in his mouth.
Yeah. Silver spoon. This, I love Paulie, but he's not ready for the big times. And let me tell you, I think we're both owed something by this federation that Mr. Foot's never going to get us. I know I got bills to pay, and it ain't cutting it right now. I bet you still got hospital bills from when you were in the burn ward. I know that kind of stay ain't cheap.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So why don't we get back in Mr. Foot where it's going to hurt him most? His pocketbook.
Really step on his toes, if you know what I mean. All right. What you're saying is very illegal, potentially dangerous.
You think it was up to fire code the way they set up those pyrotechnics the day you got burnt, Bonnie?
He looks, he is a far off stare. He's like, it was an accident.
You think that was very safe?
No, it was not.
You think maybe I heard you'd been asking for a bump in merch shares just around the time that suddenly Bonnie Parker's not able to wrestle anymore. You think that had anything to do with safety codes, with pyrotechnics setup?
What are you trying to say?
I'm just trying to say, I don't think Mr. Foot has always appreciated what you do for this company. And I think that you are overdue for some compensation for missed wages, for missed opportunities. I see Dieter Skank. He's fine. He's past it now. I don't, never really that much to look at in the ring to begin with, right? But he's got a good gimmick. He can ride a motorbike. But you, Bonnie, I've watched old tapes. You were a maestro in the ring. Who knows what you could have been? You could have been forget the GNWF. You could have been a world champion anywhere. But now they got you looking like Frankenstein's monster.
I always thought, ever since, my appearance makes small children cry.
How bad is it?
It's like really bad, I think. Maybe if you see from like one angle, like you couldn't tell, but like dead on, yeah, it's like really bad.
Bad enough that it went from being like a potential gimmick to like, no, we cannot actually have this guy in the ring.
Yeah, like it's like it terrifies people. It makes them really uncomfortable. You know, I had a thought, but it's crazy. I don't know. I'm past my prime, sure, but you know, down in Mexico, the wrestlers wear masks. With that kind of money, I could start all over again.
I hear Mexico's pretty nice this time of year. We do need to decide, does this end? I established, so y'all have to decide how this resolves for me.
I'm gonna
I think this ends good for you.
Good.
Yeah.
You've
Like, I'm on board now.
your ethnic ambiguity has really enticed Bonnie with the
Yeah.
promise of life below the border.
Yeah. You know what? I think maybe I say something like, it's funny you should say that, Bonnie. And I reach into my jacket pocket, right? My members only jacket.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I pull out. I've got like 2 brochures for like two like vacation brochures for Mexico already, right?
Yeah.
Hell
You
yeah.
know, and like
Acapulco, yeah.
yeah, and maybe like the camera cuts like for a moment to like Bonnie's office, and we can see that there's like a photo or a poster or something about like there's like something like indicating Bonnie's thought about Mexico,
Mhm.
and it's like the implication here. I've noticed the connection, and I'm like already ready to like kind of
Working the angle.
yeah. Cool. So that ends good for me, which means I take a white dice and I give it to someone else. And I'm going to give that. I'm going to give that to Dieter Skank. And then with that, that's like the end of my scene, right? Is like we're looking at the plans for the Tacoma Dome, talking about like how do we get this. We're plotting, right? We end on us plotting in this booth.
Yeah, and I'm saying like, well, you know, he's gonna have Tony is gonna be definitely working the door. Now I know Tony is lactose intolerant. Okay, now here's what I'm suggesting. You know, we're planning and scheming.
Yeah.
Love that. Went from like really good idea to like, oh, we're gonna get him some ice cream.
Yeah. I'm gonna replace his non-dairy creamer with half and half.
With extra dairy creamer. That was excellent. I love Bonnie wanting to start over as a masked wrestler. That is like an amazing touch. I love that. Like in the office, you know, he's got like the posters of like luchadors up.
Oh yeah, right. I'm like,
excellent pull.
I wish I knew luchadors better to be able to like name drop like an 80s luchador, right? But there's probably like somebody here who is like famous, like we would recognize as like a
what was it? El Santo. The classic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. Like an El Santo poster in the back. Yeah. That's good.
All right. So
down to you, pretty boy.
Yeah, I guess this could be establishing, or it could be, I think what I want.
If you want to resolve, we can establish for you. We haven't tried that yet, but that is the other way.
Do you know what? I'm still going to establish a scene, I think, which is it's not Salmon Slam. It's another like event that is going on, the Sockeye Rumble or whatever.
We're definitely wrestling all the time. There's like smaller matches. That's where we're building the story towards this, building the feud for that will end at Salmon Slam.
And I think this plays into our relationship, Mitch, with the back alley partners in crime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the drugs that I do. Like I'm not doing well, and I have to go out and perform tonight. And if I don't look fucking good, this isn't going to happen. And maybe in the partners in crime, I think Paulie's maybe taking it a little too serious. Like, what the fuck do you mean you couldn't find any?
Listen, Paulie, though the town's dry right now. I've been looking everywhere, but you listen. I think you're gonna do great. You got it in your heart. You know what I mean? You're a foot. You know, you're from a long lineage of.
I don't think you fucking know what this feels like, man. I am. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna do what I need to do. But you need to call fucking Mickey and tell him that if we don't get some by tomorrow, nothing else is gonna fucking happen, okay? I'm cool. But I don't need anyone fucking this up for me. You know the old man's riding down my fucking throat. I can't go out there and lose to that fucking bike riding loser if I'm not in peak condition. The quality can't be the quality without the good shit, okay? You hear that? I know this isn't you. It's not you, Sammy. It's not fucking you. But someone's got to do it, okay? And I'm not going to be the star they need me to be if I don't have the star power. And I need the power.
Great, really good.
And I think that is kind of happening. Like,
we're back in the locker room, maybe.
Literally, I think maybe that's a conversation that is happening as like we are walking up to come out together to like our like 80s new wave, like cool guys slicking back our hair, like. So we have to snap into that like persona, and I'm freaking out. I'm not being cool. And I think that is the scene that is just like, walking from the locker room to stage.
Yeah.
We see it happening. You know, he's drinking his water, throwing a cup. You know, like he's talking about it while like someone backstage is trying to fix his suit jacket so it looks right and like make sure that the hair's looking good. He has people doing that for him. And that is still the conversation that is happening.
Yeah. We're kind of like going back and forth on this as we're walking out, like right as your tantrum ends, music hits.
Yeah. Somehow it's your problem that I don't have what I need. So you said you know a guy, and where is the fucking guy?
Oh, that's fun. I like that. Yeah.
Someone who has
Does that
been hungover and been like not feeling good. Let's say hungover. That is a rough place to have to go into a situation. So I think that is just like that is the kind of thing that happens to Paulie, who I also think whose name is Sean Foot Jr. Sean Paul Foot Jr. But everyone calls him Paulie because of his dad. But he is a
Jean
junior
Paul.
without Jean Paul.
That makes sense. They're French Canadian.
Jean Paul.
Jean Paul Foot.
Yeah. Does this scene end positively or negatively for Paulie Primo? I kind of think negatively.
Negatively.
I think
negatively. He's maybe whatever happens, he gets hurt. He's not doing well. So I think negative.
I think this is probably because we have to come out there and the way this always works in wrestling, right, is there's going to be we're going to have some I imagine we come out to confront Dieter Skank, right? There's a little bit of back and forth, but obviously the big fight's going to be at Salmon Slam, so you guys can't actually have a full match yet, right? But I kind of think maybe
so like a qualifier.
I don't even qualify. This is often we just come out, we're going to talk a little trash, and then someone's going to start beating on someone else or whatever. But maybe the way that this is supposed to play out is you come out, right, to have a little back and forth with Dieter, and then Dieter's supposed to start whipping on you. Mm-hmm. And I'm supposed to hit my cue, run out, right? Bad guys gang up. It's the numbers game. We beat down on the good guy. But maybe I we cut from like you two are in the ring, right? You're cutting promos at each other. Dieter has started the beatdown portion of this, maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm waiting in the back, and like I'm not coming out. And so there's this kind of like long period where you're like,
I'm getting winded. Like Dieter's also having to do a lot of work to make it look like I'm doing anything, you know? So I think, yeah, it just is very maybe obvious even to the people watching that like something is.
Yeah, I like, you know, eventually probably I do like
We both keep looking up towards the walk-in area, and it's like,
yeah.
okay, maybe another slam then. Like,
Yeah. Right,
Yeah.
we cut in like a camera in close on you two, right? Like, you know, whispers as you're like kind of pretending to beat the hell out of him on the mat or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, where's your boy? Come on.
I don't know. He's been fucking up everything lately. I can't fucking get him to do anything right. So probably back to screwing off, so doing something else.
I'm giving it 30 seconds, and you're getting pinned. Now, come on.
You know, and the crowd's kind of like a little bit like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then I come, right? Eventually I come out here.
Dieter's climbing up on the ropes, you know, like little half cape behind him, ready. And then he's kind of like grimacing because if he's got to jump and fall here, it's maybe going to hurt a little bit.
And then there's that like, yeah, I mentioned it's like a heavy synth, right? Of whatever our theme song is, right? You know, like a.
Liam, write that down.
A tasty little lick.
Yeah. Just a tasty little like synth. You know, I'm like, I listened to a second of what the Miami Vice theme song was earlier, and it's very funny. So I feel like something of that, right? Yeah, like it's kind of like dirty synth, and then I come out, and I feel like I also maybe I showboat it here a little bit, right? Like, you know, maybe I don't know. I'm trying to think what that looks like here. You know, like maybe it's just like coming into the ring in like a really like acrobatic way, right? Like full sprint, don't stop, like jump 1 foot onto the apron, and then like grab the top rope and kind of like slingshot myself over, like just moving with a kind of like athleticism that we very much didn't witness Polly just using.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's you're walking out to the song "You Got the Touch" by Lion. You know that band?
Yeah.
You got the touch.
Yeah.
That's a great synth line. And it's like, fog, laser lights. You know, he's here.
And I think, you know, what if, I don't know if there's more there, but I just think, this like purposefully letting Paulie kind of like embarrass himself a little bit, like show up like his kind of lack of like in-ring skills, I think is kind of the move here.
If you, maybe you take care of Dieter, and it's just like, sorry, folks, you know, there's so many ladies backstage that Sammy here was probably taking care of some other type of business. You know, I don't know if you know anything about that, Dieter, but sometimes things happen back there that you guys don't always get to be privy to.
You know, and like leaning in, like, sorry, Paulie, I just but I got a call about the you know what? I think next time you're not gonna have to worry about this. Crowd's booing us right there. They hate us. We're doing our thing.
Mm-hmm. You know, maybe there's someone brings up a champagne bottle and we pop that and kind of. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's
okay. You guys are talking, and it's like, boys, you forgot. We're not done here. And I think Dieter looks up to the light rigging up above where he's been working out this new stunt. And I think like making sure it's in position. Maybe there's like some high wire here or something. And like from his little climb up on the ropes, you guys are talking in the middle of the ring, and he's like, oh, I think you forgot, right? And then I think maybe Dieter kind of goes, crowd's expecting just a normal kind of slam, but I think, you know, jumping up, like it's like zzz, and like Dieter's kind of lifted up on the like wire rig here to go like extra high. Is that funny? I don't know.
Super jumping?
Yeah, it's like a super high jump. And then maybe it's like gonna slam both of you down, and maybe that's, I don't know, what do you think of that?
Oh yeah, right, you do like a crazy high thing, and then it's like you come down in a crossbody and get both of us or something, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But it's like it's from this light rigging where it's like attached, but you see Dieter kind of like leap up and it's like flying way into the air, like, 10, 15 feet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. That's fun. Setting up the gimmick that we're going to do later. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah. So I think that
champagne goes everywhere as the bottle gets,
Yeah, I think that's like, we come out, I like a little beat down on Dieter, you roll off to the side, then we get up, we start cutting our promo, and that's the time that you're using to like hook the rig up and like climb back up. Yeah.
And I think, and like right before he does it, I think he's like looking for Bonnie in the crowd and like gives a wink.
Oh, great.
Bonnie's not in the crowd. He's sort of like, he's backstage. He's got like he's sort of hooded figure.
Like Strider.
Huge pipe.
I like very good. Cool. So I think that is our first round of scenes. So then we have one more for Act 1 before we hit the tilt, which is where we will introduce some new complications.
So I give a black dice to someone then, right?
Yes. You ended poorly. So you choose someone else to have a black dice. Right now I have one white, Pete has one white, and Bonnie has no dice.
I think Bonnie gets the black dice.
Cool. So I think where we are on, it is back to the dangerous Dieter Skank.
Danger.
Back to me. I think this scene, and so you establish by setting the scene, and you resolve the scene by everyone else telling it for you, right? So I guess
if you establish the scene, then everyone else at the table decides whether it ends positively or negatively for your character. Alternatively, you can choose to let everyone else at the table establish the scene, and you get to choose whether or not it resolves positively or negatively for your character.
I'm going to establish here, but I'm going to switch over to the other version after this. But I think this is, maybe this is all taking place in about a week so far. This is like Sunday dinner at the Skank residence. And Bonnie and Bonnie's mom, I don't know, are you married? Or I don't know if you have a wife or someone else, but I'm like, this is, Dieter, Bonnie are best friends in real life and bitter enemies in the ring during their career. But I think we're still close, you and I. Yeah. And I think after this, this most recent like bouts, part of this was like maybe even, I like to think, correct me if I'm wrong, that like Dieter and Bonnie are like still kind of like friends and collaborators. And like that stunt is like something we've been working on, like the high ropes thing. Mm-hmm. And Dieter knows that, Bonnie got hurt because of Dieter, right? Like even if it was, and we all know it's a technical thing. It's not really like Dieter put Bonnie in harm's way, and everybody knows that. But he feels bad, and so Sundays, Dieter makes sure to like make dinner for the McDade family, and so it's like, yeah. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't think. Bonnie's married. I think probably divorced several times.
So it's like Bonnie and Bonnie's mom, who I think is probably ancient, right? Looks like a little tiny old lady. So it's pasta night at the Skank household. And so like I think camera opens. This is like a very like 80s ass kitchen. It's like brown and yellow.
Yeah.
And
the cigarette smoke stained ceiling. Yeah.
There's one of those huge ashtrays that really has no place in modern living because there's nowhere to put it. But there's like, that's actually how the camera opens, is I think on like 4 cigarettes burning in like one of these big amber colored ashtrays. And we zoom out here to see just like a absolutely huge meal of like,
it's like I imagine it like a Sunday roast.
Yeah. Totally. And so like we're panning out there. It's a lot of the kind of like 80s American foods. It's like a gravy, mashed potatoes, like a roast beast here. Bunch of beers probably on the table with the straight can where it's like they're not the beveled kind we see today, where it's like the pull tab types. And I think as we're all sitting down, Dieter's still wearing like the outfit here at the table, but it's like maybe this one is maybe like terry cloth or something. This is at home. It's a softer fit.
That is great.
And I think
Bonnie's pulling some instant mashed potatoes out of the biggest microwave you've ever seen.
Oh, Bonnie, don't do that. Don't do that. We'll take care of it. Kids, get in here. And-
Also in terry cloth.
yeah, and then three of
Same
them
outfit.
I think come. They're I think Dieter has 3 daughters.
Dieter's 3 daughters.
Yep.
Ilse, Inga, and Ingrid.
No, of course they all have D names. It's
yeah.
Yeah, it's Deirdre, Deborah, and Donna.
Yeah.
The Skank sisters. And so they're coming out and they're like, "Oh, Bonnie, blah blah." And I think as we're kind of setting the table, Dieter like shakes out a big like the bicentennial half moon. You know what I'm talking about? Of like an American, but here it's like a. They're always like a weird. You don't see them anymore really because of woke, but they're like this thing where it's like a half fan banner where it's like red, white, and blue. I just put it in our Discord there, but
yes.
shakes up this
Oh,
one,
absolutely, yes.
Tucks it into the jumpsuit and says, "Girls, take a seat. Let's pray." Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this food. We thank you for the high-flying stunts and dangerous deeds we're able to perform in your grace. May the Great Northern reign for as long as the American flag flies over this great nation, and let our friend Bonnie here be blessed in your light. We're so grateful, and I think it just like goes on and on and on. And and just goes, great, let's eat. And
Amen.
I think, amen. And so, we're eating and Dieter's got a wife too. We'll say her name's like Sue, Sue Ann Skank. And we're, I think it's like a pretty happy family thing here. And I'm like, I think talking to this mouthful, it's like, Bonnie, what'd you think on Saturday night? Pretty amazing stuff, right?
I think the rigging really needs to be more thought out. We can't. There's no room for error here.
No, you always say that, and I get it. But when people, no. But it takes away some of the thrill, doesn't it?
Listen, life isn't all about danger. Okay, we what we do is dangerous, obviously, but there needs to be less unnecessary risk, okay?
You're right. And I think the girls are all like, yeah, Dad, he's right, and I'm like, you're right. But I just can't help but feel like I'm losing my edge. These young guys, they don't even have the gimmick, they're just wearing it on their sleeve. And people just love the stunts so much, Bonnie, it's really inspiring.
The motorcycle stunts, maybe 10 years ago, 13 years ago, they were big, they were huge, but the people, they want to see boat jumps now.
God damn it!
We're living in a new era of water sports.
You're a genius,
Dieter. I mean, really, don't you think it's time for you to pass the torch?
What? Pass the torch? No. God, no.
It's...
Kids, get out of here.
I think even you see pushes like his grays, graying mullet back.
No, I imagine he's like, he's like, dyed his hair. He gets the Just for Men in his beard every week,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm in my prime, and I think he throws his hair back.
Smiles, crow's feet, really, cracking across his face.
He's wearing it a little bit. But boats, now you're thinking, what about maybe for the salmon slam? What if we do a salmon run?
A salmon run?
It's too small for a boat, but I like where your head's at. But it's, the sports, the industry's changing. We got to keep current.
Dieter, what I'm trying to say is, what's your backup plan? You've always been a amazing athlete, but well,
I've invested heavily in lawn darts, and in addition to that, I think the stock market's just going up and up, and I'm getting really invested in the housing market.
Okay, these are all great retirement plans. It's time to start thinking about it.
No, I don't think so. And
Me,
I think
I've been giving a lot of thought to my retirement plan too. I just don't want to see you left high and dry.
And I think, he kind of looks at his watch. Well, it's probably been, an hour or so at the table. It's like, girls, go help your mother. She'll help you out with your weightlifting routine. And
then we retire to the den.
Yeah.
And he's still definitely stuck in the 70s. There's a conversation pit.
God, to be so lucky, I would
Yeah.
for that.
Jesus Christ.
I'd literally kill someone to have a conversation pit. No, I wouldn't. But yeah, so I love that. So we're like in the den here.
Shag carpet.
What's on? We're watching. Have you heard of this CNN thing? It's like they got news all the time, and so I think he's just like scanning through channels looking for wrestling. And we're on, and it's like, so tell me more about this. So your retirement plan?
Yeah. Start thinking about the future. Of
I'm
course,
gonna be honest,
I can teach, but at some point, I don't have anything left. I don't have anything left to teach. I'm passing it on to somebody else, Sammy, I think Sammy is a great, great athlete. I think he's really going places, okay?
Sammy?
I don't know why he's still playing second fiddle to, well, I think I know why, but don't you see it? Aren't you seeing the big
something.
picture?
Sorry to get all heated, Bonnie, but I am seeing something. I just don't like it. This new face of wrestling, it's all style. There's no substance. They're not doing anything interesting. They're just here to jerk each other off and sit around patting each other on the back, looking all cool. What are they going to do when they're our age? This, it just makes me mad. I spent so much time training these girls, my beautiful daughters, and they're huge now. They're getting enormous. They're strong. You should see some of the stuff we've got planned for them. Triple stack stunts. I'm talking big stuff. And now they're telling me I got to take the fall for these wimps. Bow out? They want me to bow out? I'm dangerous, Dieter Skank. And you're telling me you too? You're done? Just like that? I can't accept that.
I think this ends. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think the scene is gonna end, and I maybe.
Well, do we think it ends?
I kind of roll my eyes and lift my glass of scotch to my lips.
I think
do we think it ends negatively or positively for Dieter?
Negative.
Negative. Did you have a negative last time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like another negative resolution for Dieter.
Yeah.
Just unwilling to see anything besides what's going on in his head as to where his stars at.
And I think Dieter is talking to Bonnie as if we both agree. And it's like not really hearing out your opinion, where it's like, just to sit down and quit. I don't think so.
What if on the screen, right, like GNWF is playing, right, like a rerun of like an older match, and it's like at that moment, it's like in the middle of a promo that Dieter's cutting, the channel cuts to commercial, right? Like they don't even like let his promo finish before they cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think you get up to like you're kind of twist your face up, you scowl a little bit.
Yeah.
And when you get up, you get up to like turn the volume down on the TV set, and like your knees make it extremely loud clicking noise as you stand
deafening
up.
crunches as I stand up.
Yeah,
it's fun. I'm very sore today, so this feels really hitting home. But and I think like you, Dieter kind of one hand crushes this beer can. Let's turn that shit off. We need to talk to Sean, Mr. Foot. See if we can kind of talk some sense into him. Thanks, Bonnie. I needed this.
So you are getting a black die. Who do you want to send that to? You have a white die. I have a white die, and then Tim and Malcolm both each have one black die.
I'm gonna give it to. I'm gonna send some negative energy towards Primo. You can have the black die.
Yeah. Checks out.
So then we move on to Bonnie's last scene from Act 1.
I think that I'm going to meet with Sean sort of under the guise of, as like a work meeting, but also I'm trying to get intel about the security situation that's going to be happening, who's working the door, when is he going to be arriving, when is he leaving, just like making conversation, but I'm trying to get information from Sean. I think we're in his office. And I knock on the door, and maybe he's like, shuffling, getting paper, putting something away he doesn't want me to see, perhaps, as I'm walking in.
Yeah, come on in.
All right, well, I got bad news about this.
Christ, Bonnie, every time I see you, it gives me a little bit of a shock. Sorry, continue. It's just every time, it's like a whole fucking new thing. Go ahead. My apologies.
The new set of talent, they're not ready. I sent them all back.
What do you mean send them all back? We got to have some...
No, they're not ready. Listen, I know this new day and age, we need new, fresh talent all the time, but like there's just they just weren't ready. One of those guys couldn't even form a coherent thought. We tried to cut a test promo with him, and he kept flubbing up his lines.
Well, listen, we always need jobbers, Bonnie. We need somebody who get there, take a slam, get the 1, 2, 3, look up at the lights, and get out. Again, you got somebody in that bunch who's got to do that. We got 6 more shows before Salmon Slam. Half these cards ain't even filled out. You're gonna have to do something. And listen. Paulie's already doing. Junior's pulling double duty. He can't be wrestling at these undercard shows every time. I want to keep him fresh for Salmon Slam. People can't get too tired of him. So you got to pick 2 of them. Pick the 2 smartest. Get them geared up. Run them through.
All right, I'm gonna do my best. Okay. I think and then he puts his feet up on his desk and leans back and goes like, this Salmon Slam, this is a big deal. We've never had such a large venue.
And I think I'm acutely aware of that, Bonnie. And you point
a lot of pressure for one guy to be taking on.
I think he lights up a big stogie, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I got pressure coming out of the wazoo. You can't tell me twice.
How can I help you? I can take on more. I'm gonna get the 2 smartest guys. We'll get them running. Maybe get some sort of story together in time for Salmon Slam for the first round. I can do that for you, but
all right. He trusts me. He's been with Bonnie forever, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, Big Carl.
Yeah, of course I know Big Carl.
Yeah, how could you fucking miss him, right? There were some problems with Big Carl's visa. He's not going to be around, which is fine. He's shit in the ring anyways. Big man, can't do anything but pick him up, drop him down. Big Carl was supposed to be one of the boys in my door for this Tacoma Dome thing. And listen, I don't they got their own security at the venue, and that's fine. But I don't trust them to be keeping an eye on my business.
Mm-hmm.
You find me one of these big boys. He doesn't have to be a smart one, just a big one. Stand outside the door. I'm going to be inside. This Tacoma Dome, they got internal monitors. I can watch the whole show from my office. Don't ever have to leave, which is kind of a treat. This is a big payday we're talking about.
So you'll be in your office the entire time.
When Paulie's out in the ring, God forbid something happens. I can't stand to be out there looking at it straight on. I need that distance. So you find a big boy to watch that door for me. I've got Dan still around. Big Dan. He's a little sad.
Big Dan and Big Carl, of course.
Yeah. The big boys.
The big brothers. Yeah, the big boys.
Yeah. That was one of the worst ideas we've ever had for a gimmick. They
Terrible.
needed something else. Just big guys.
I mean, we're all
We're
big
all big
guys
guys.
here.
Yeah. Listen, they weren't Andre, I'll tell you that. But I think he's how are you feeling about this show though? How are you feeling about this? You think Paulie's ready? He's looking good out there. He's looking pretty handsome right now, pre-cut. I think he pats his big belly. Reminds me of myself when I was his age, just a little leaner. How's he looking?
Can I be frank with you?
I prefer you be Bonnie, but whatever gets us the answer.
I think he looks amazing. I think he's ready.
And you think this this high wire thing with Dieter, you think that's safe?
Listen,
I don't want my boy ending up disfigured or injured because of some accident in the ring. You understand?
I think Bonnie kind of swallows his pride there. It's like, no, listen, Dieter, he's the best in the business. I don't think you have anything to worry about. Anything at all.
Where is calling to the crowd? Positive, negative for Bonnie here?
Positive.
I think it's positive. Yeah. Bonnie
think
is
so far
working
things are-
the angles. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a history that is reliable. I
Plus,
think
he's
also,
got damage, so it's like nobody's going to tell Bonnie no. He's like,
Right.
He's sacrificed enough.
in another character who also is, kind of blinded by the lights they think are on them, I could see Sean Foote also just being like so caught up in his own thing that none of these questions that otherwise seem leading.
Absolutely.
And like a guy who maybe has more hands-on experience telling him you have nothing to worry about. You just focus on counting all that cheddar.
Yeah, right. Maybe there is there's also just a big stack. There's a big stack of cash on the table, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think Mr. Foote here is like, all right, if you think old Dieter's not too shaky on his legs, I want this Salmon Slam is going to be the thing people all across the Pacific Northwest are talking about this summer. And when it comes, next year, start of the year, they're going to be thinking, what's going to be happening at Salmon Slam 2? That's going to be us. Who knows? We make this thing big enough, we could be talking national syndication. Now, so whatever you got to do with old Dieter, I want that finish has got to look good. I'm talking big. I'm talking, the kind of thing people are going to want to, they're going to want to buy tickets to the next show before they're even out the door for this one. They see what he does. So.
Oh, trust me, it's going to go out with a bang. And then Sean starts laughing with him too.
Yes, yeah.
You are so funny. Yeah.
I think that's pretty good, unless you got another note there.
Yeah,
That's great.
All right, let's just keep on rolling, huh? I think I'm next, right?
Correct.
Cool. I think I'm going to establish here, and I think this is a couple weeks later, and we are not at the gym. I think we are at there's a arena, a smaller one that we own, right? This is where the GNWF house shows are. This is our regular, where we do most of our shows. And then for these bigger events is when we get the bigger arenas, right? But I think that there's actually no one here right now. Or not no one, I think, but it's not a show. Instead, I think I'm establishing here, obviously. I think it is Sammy is here, and I think Dieter is here. And maybe Bonnie's here as well. And I think there's a few other wrestlers and there's some tech crew around, because I think that what we are doing is we are in the ring and we are rehearsing, I think, what's supposed to be, or at least part of like the big finish for Salmon Slam, right?
This is with Sammy, right?
Yeah, but I'm here, and so I think the scene opens right. The reason we're here is because we have a version of like the light rig set up, like the high wire thing, right? And so I think like we're here, and so I think it's like it opens, and Sammy, I think is just in like, I'm in my wrestling gear, right? We haven't talked about. I think I'm wearing like, I think I wear pants, not trunks, that are this kind of like, like neon pink with like a purple lettering down the side that says like Vice. Right. It is as close to the Miami Vice font as we can get without like legally infringing on it.
Right.
And I'm looking at Dieter, and I think I am saying something like, "Listen, Mr. Skank." I look up at like a clock, right? That's like up on a wall somewhere. And it's like, I'm sure Paulie's going to be here any minute, but you don't got to worry about him. He knows exactly, he's fit for the job. We've been training together. So why don't you and I, we run through. When Paulie gets here, he can step in, but at least you and I can get down some of this choreography, right?
I'm with you right till the end, to be honest. Because I just think this high ropes act is a showstopper, to be frank. Now listen, Sammy, you're a good kid. To be honest, I think you're a better wrestler than Paulie. You ever thought about your minute in the spotlight?
And I think I lift my hands up and I'm like, listen, Dieter, I'm happy for everything I've got. I think I got a long career in this business. I hope to someday wrestle as long as you have here. But I'm happy for Paulie. I think he's worked real hard to get where he's at. I know something's come up, probably traffic. He'll be here any minute, but I just want to make sure, we both know these spots. And I think this is like also talking through a little bit, like kind of beat by beat of like what the finish is for the show. And I think it's like, because I think I'm mostly here because I'm supposed to be here. Because I imagine I'm a part, like.
Yeah. Are you guys a tag team?
We are. We used to be a tag team, but obviously I'm now like our tag team run is being deprioritized as Paulie's is getting a singles push. Right. And so I think, there's like a little bit of just like, I think, mechanistically, like we're talking through what the finish to this match is, which involves this like high flying rig, right? That is supposed to like kind of lift you high into the air and give you an almost like superhuman drop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess the thing I'm trying to figure out both as a player and as Sammy in the story is like, what is the finish here? Because it does have to end. And I think I say something to this effect, I like say like, Dieter, I think it's really great. You're so willing to help young talent. You're willing to do business here, put Paulie over, really put him in the spotlight. A lot of guys your age, they'd be interested in going into business for themselves. They'd hate to see their reputation tarnished by some young upstart, kind of closing that career out with a little bit of not a whimper, but a defeat for sure.
I think like Dieter's getting pretty flustered here because sure, we're talking about the narrative, but it's like now ending the career. I mean, I think this is the beginning of a comeback arc, Sammy, and I think you got a real opportunity. You want to wrestle, now's your time, and look, I think let's be frank, Paulie, the man hasn't worked hard in his life. Where the hell is your...
It's the slightest grin up on Sammy's face. And then I think Sammy, I think our camera catches like kind of a glint in Sammy's eye. And he says, I've been showing Paulie something that I've been working on. It's a little bit more complicated than what we'd been talking about before, right? I know before it was supposed to be just you pick him up You're supposed to slam him off the top rope. You go big in the air. Easy reversal into the DDT. He drops you down. That's safe. It's easy. He's landing flat on the back. Nice, clean. Your head's protected. It's not a bad finish. It's a little lackluster.
What do you have in mind? What if we punch it up? I like the way you're thinking. Now, you seem like a man I can trust.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I look around, and I look over at Bonnie and I say, Bonnie's had me for training. I've been watching some of these luchador tapes, some of these real high-flying cats. Listen, I know Paulie's not the most technical guy, but I think my training, we could get him there. I'm trying to think of like what the move is here, but I think basically what I'm trying to kind of get at is I think Sammy's going to try and suggest the finish as written right now is like Dieter is on the top ropes, picks up Paulie for carries him to the top rope and like does the big jump in the air for like a big slam.
Mm-hmm.
But Paulie's supposed to reverse it into like a DDT is like when you kind of cradle your opponent's head in between your arms and kind of drop back with it. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like a pretty safe move to do. And you're like the person who's going back takes like the biggest bump. And I think it's probably safe to do with this harness as well, right? You're going to be kind of holding him, and the harness is what's going to like lower you guys to the ground at like a safe speed. And so I think instead, maybe I'm like, you ever heard of a hurricanrana?
Well, Sammy, I mean, I have great respect for your culture. And diversity is what makes our country great. No, sir, I have not heard of that, but I'm eager to learn.
And I think I call in like one of the newbies into the ring, right? And it's like we do a little bit of work, square up. I throw into the corner. We get him up on the top rope. I climb, and then a hurricanrana is like I kind of jump up, my legs around his neck, and I'm kind of doing a backflip that like he then flips forward, right? And it's the momentum of my twist is like what sells the move of him getting thrown by my legs. Now imagine a hurricanrana 15 feet in the air. Crowd's never seen anything like that. All Paulie's going to have to do is after he does the leg flip, he's got to make sure he holds on to you just long enough for the thing to get low. It's not going to hurt when he bumps. It's a little spicier. It's a little bit more dangerous, but I've seen your work, Dieter. You can carry any guy to safety through a match. Nobody been hurt on your watch. And I look over at Bonnie, not accounting for unusual and unexplainable circumstances. But when it comes to work, they say you're one of the safest in the biz. And listen, 10 years from now, everyone's going to remember something like this.
Well, ideas mio, mi amigo. I must say, gracias. That is a great idea. Keep us current. Keep us modern.
Yeah. And I think maybe, there's an element here of like, well, let's try it out now. You and me, I'll be in for Paulie. We can run it. You see if you feel safe with this. We've got, Bonnie's over there with the control guy, making sure that the rig's working right. We give it a run or two of this move where it's like you pick me up to power slam me through the air, and at the last minute I whip around and do the flip on you. Does this scene end positively or negatively for me?
Positive? It seems like you're getting this kind of like into place.
Yeah, it seems positive to me.
Well, then in that case, yeah. Right. I'm the prodigy. I know exactly how to move to make this work, and in a way that like is safe for Dieter and me, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like I send you kind of spinning in the air, but like it's like we use the kind of momentum of the cables falling to like really that's what gives us the motion of the twist. And it's like a pretty easy controlled bump. Like it's a bigger bump than we would normally take, but it's like, I think it looks great, and after we do it, I think, all these guys who've been, like cleaning or like kind of like walking around, other guys who are training, whatever, the tech guys, everybody starts clapping, right? Like it's a visually impressive thing that we've done.
Mm-hmm. And so I think, maybe so Dieter's taking the fall, right? So he's like on the mat or something after we've run this through a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think is winded, right? Like it is a safe match. I think Dieter's like probably over 50, but not by too much. Old for a wrestler. And as I think on the ground, had the wind knocked out of him a little and is like, whew. That is something. With a few adjustments, I can see this really working. I might have to bring this one up to the top brass. Nice work, Sammy.
Rising boats lift all tides, and I think I like gesture to my my gear, right? The vice on the side. The leader of the vice squad becomes the reigning, Timberland title holder. That's going to up my stock. And who knows? Maybe I get to work a program with him someday. Who knows? Maybe, put it in Sean's year. You're talking about a comeback program. People love to see a heel turn face. Maybe there's something. Paulie starts mistreating me, starts acting like he's the big boss and I'm just his follower. Maybe he starts acting like everything in this whole fucking federation belongs to him and I'm just a showpiece to make him look good. And that makes me so mad I got to turn on him. Or something like that.
Okay. Or maybe I'm the big boss and you guys try and turn on me and I can see this working real well. What if I put both of you down? I'll talk to Mr. Foot. I think you're on to something. I like this, Sammy. Good work, Bonnie.
But I think that scene ends there, right? Yeah, we've established a new finish that it requires a much more like technical execution than previously required.
And I get it. This way I'm on top. And I think, he's just kind of like looking out into the empty audience and just kind of keeps saying, right.
This way we're selling it. The only thing that could put you down for the 3 count is a move no one else could pull off. Something insane.
Exactly. Nobody can put me down for a 3 count. You're right, Sammy. Nobody puts Dieter Skank down.
Even though you just practiced it 10 times.
Yeah, I said some minor adjustments could really make this sing. Mr. Foot, I think he's heading off to the office now.
Yeah. And so I think that is
flapping as he walks.
Yeah. And so I have a white dice to. Malcolm, we forgot you had a white dice you were supposed to send to someone last time.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna give it to. I'm gonna give it to Paulie Primo just because I feel bad for him.
Oh.
1 white dice, huh? All right.
And I'm going to give my white dice away to another one to Dieter Skink. So Paulie has 2 black dice, 1 white dice. I have a white dice. Malcolm has a black dice, and Pete, you have 2 white now. So one more, and we will be one more scene, and we'll be done with Act 1. So why don't you take us away there, Tim?
And I'm going to flip it. I think I'm just going to say this is a scene that ends negatively for our dear Sean Paul Foot Jr.
And you don't have to necessarily decide how it resolves until we get to the point you want to resolve it.
Okay,
but if you
I'll wrap it up.
Yeah. If you want to resolve, then we can establish a scene for you, which is a thing we haven't done yet. So what's a funny scene we think for Sean Paul Foot Jr., aka Paulie the Primo quality?
I think maybe Paulie is partying hard. Like we're in the weekend, right? Like this was like the weekend we were saying, and this week of time where maybe Paulie gets into some trouble at a bar, or like some nightlife here. What do you guys think? You got anything? I'm thinking like maybe Paulie is zooted out and is just talking a huge game at like.
Maybe this is like a company party, like it's like it is like the week before Salmon Slam, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like we're all going out to like kind of let off some steam and kind of we just finished like we did like our first big rehearsal for Salmon Slam, right? Like earlier today was the first time that like the ring is now set up in the Tacoma Dome. And we all like were there today, like kind of running through some spots and like getting like, some of the choreography down. Like it's the first time we've all actually wrestled there. And so it's that night after the first time we've been there. And so everyone's like in a kind of a jubilant mood where we've like, we've taken over a bar somewhere.
Yeah. It's a like, I'm like, what's a good bar, wrestler bar?
The Timber Room. I don't know.
No,
that's actually
I'm
a bar.
Thinking, what
in
if it's like
Seattle.
it's like a circus, big tent. We're like
the big tent.
Yeah, big tent, and
okay, yeah,
big tent bar and grill.
Yes, and I think that the big
an
tent,
old wrestler opened it after he retired.
Yes,
that was what he did.
Oh, Ringmaster, yeah.
Rip Rose, the Ringmaster, opened.
Yes,
yeah.
And I think that like one back wall of this bar is like there's a bunch of framed photos of some of the greats in the past, and there's like one of Dieter on the motorbike and cape of fluttering. There's probably pyrotechnics going off in this photo, which may be the titular pyrotechnics that kind of define Bonnie's future. But yeah, it's a whole motley crew. There's a lot of also, I think, like Dieter, I think, is holding court, at a big table of like old wrestlers. If Rip Rose is here, we got all these guys.
Big Babe Bunyan.
Big Babe Bunyan's there. I'm trying so hard to remember those other guys.
Johnny Rotten, he's sort of like a UK punk wrestler.
Was that his name?
That was one of the ones. We've played, spoiler alert for the listeners at home. We have, in fact, played wrestling games in the past with a variety of characters.
Something, The Lock. I know that was my...
and I was the dentist, right?
Oh, you were a dentist and wrestler.
You never know, dear listener. We may release that someday.
Jack Frost is there too.
That's right. Yeah, and so they're all there, and I think Dieter is just a little loose, and I think it's just telling the same fucking stories they've heard so many times, and you can kind of see even I think some of these even like. Like Jack Frost is even like nodding off a little bit. Like these are old guys, older than Dieter even, I think. And he's like talking loud enough, like the whole bar is listening, but it's actually just very loud in there. And like,
I think we like the camera cuts to like other side of the room, right, which is where like it's almost as if the room is split in two, right? There's like all the old heads over here with Dieter, and then like all of these younger guys, and it's a bigger crowd, right? Around where Polly is. And
what if Deirdre Skank, the eldest of Dieter's daughters, is here too? She's 21. And Dieter catches Polly getting a little too comfortable.
Is that where we want to start? Is like, are we starting with like that? Is that the word?
Sure.
I'm just adding some color. Where's Bonnie and everybody else? They all here?
I think it not quite there, and I think that everybody's like, there's a sort of pleasant row, the buzz of conversation and talking. But then when Bonnie enters the room, everybody kind of goes quiet for a minute, and he kind of stands in the doorway.
Again,
and
just
then walks, and then walks into the bar, and then people kind of like resume talking again.
I think Sammy is over there. I'm in my like, this is like the Miami Vice, like the big, like sports coat outfit,
sunglasses on inside.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone is smoking. It's great. It's a bygone era, and I think Sammy pulls Polly aside for a second, not out of like the room, right? But just kind of like pulls him off from like the crowd for a second, It's like he waves my hand at like Dieter's daughter, like just like 1 second, darling. And I, reach into my jacket, and I like palm, like a little baggie into Polly's hand, and it's like, listen, I managed to get a hookup. We're not gonna have to worry about, don't worry about Salmon Slam. We're gonna be cooking with gas that night. Don't worry. You give a little taste of this, and I got plenty more for the big show.
When have you seen me worry?
Not a day in your life.
Of course we're going to be cooking for Salmon Slam. It's written. The script, it's beautiful. I went over it again with Pops. I don't even think Dieter knows how crazy he's going to look. This old man is going to beat me. Yeah, no. He has no fucking clue just how crazy this is going to be. What a retirement. What a retirement, buddy. We love it. Here's to the career of Dangerous. Ooh, Dangerous Dieter Skang.
I think
this one goes out to you, buddy, as some really, really shitty new wave song comes on, and
Oh yeah, and it's like interrupting. Dieter just sent his, somebody go like put $1 in the jukebox, put American Pie on.
Yeah.
They had the music dead.
What a funny party song.
Yeah. And
so
interrupted by
I got a new drug. It's
and
going.
But, I think,
that famous song, "I've Got a New Drug."
What is that song called?
I want a new drug.
I want a new drug.
Yeah, that? Okay, you listen in the news? Yeah.
But in this universe, a slight
called,
sidestep.
I've got a new drug.
It's called, I have a new drug.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to this new drug.
It makes me bigger, stronger, more handsome.
But I think, when Polly's like, hey, here's, to you, big man, I think Dieter lights up a little bit. And he's like, You're not so bad, cheer, and like, he's like kind of nudging the old guys. Where it's like, come on, and they're all like, yeah, cheers.
Yeah. I think, and Paulie on his side is ribbing people that he doesn't get it. Like, he doesn't understand that I'm making fun of him in front of all these fucking people. Man, can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Fucking classic, Paulie. You got him good.
Yeah.
And I think Dieter returning the favor, I'm gonna go over and say hello, and let him kiss the ring a little bit. And I think Dieter walks over. It's like, hey boys, how are you? Good to see. I'm glad you guys came. They don't let just anybody in here, It slaps you on the back. Someday you boys could have your picture up on the wall with some of the greats.
Yeah, you think so?
Not anytime soon,
that's
but
funny.
someday.
Someday, I got an idea. Walks up and takes Dieter's picture off and goes, there might be space on this wall for me one day. Hands you the photo. Goes, you think it would work right there?
You looking for an autograph, son?
Yeah.
Because I got one for you.
Name right here, buddy.
And I think Dieter, with a surprisingly strong grip, grabs you by your cornball lapel. I think shakes you a little bit and is like, I'm happy to send it to you in the hospital, young man. You need to learn a little respect.
I think...
We can cut it there.
I was going to say, or being and we can take this back. We can walk this back if after I say it, people say no. In a drug style, he just fucking probably socks you. Like,
I was thinking you're just going to break the glass frame over my head or something.
Yeah, just fucking smacks it across your fucking head.
That's classic coked up behavior. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
You're the one who decides how this ends for your character, Tim. You're the one who gets to choose if it's positive or negative for you.
Hmm.
I also don't know if that's positive or negative.
Yeah. I'm thinking about how that goes. The smacking it over the head. It's.
I mean, I think it is kind of funny to have your kind of like, picture on the wall like crashed over, broken over your head. It's kind of funny.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I think that it is. I think it is positive. How do I see this? Positive in his mind because everyone somehow is able to laugh it off to just cool shit down. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, we're all a bunch of, to varying degrees, like roided out wrestlers in the 80s. I imagine
Right.
there's a fair amount of like
things get
tempers
broken
boiling.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Who breaks it up?
I think it's gonna be Bonnie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Bonnie comes over. He's got a martini glass or something like for Polly and the beer the generic beer that Dieter drinks maybe, and it's just like, hey,
yeah,
we got a lot.
Sammy catches Bonnie's eye and like gives him like a kind of like a knowing look and kind of starts to pull Polly away, like.
Yeah, and then I take Dieter's arm and I go like, "Hey, buddy, why don't you come over here and talk to me real quick?"
All right.
Save it for the ring, guys.
Mm-hmm. He's been through
for the ring. Before. For the ring.
And I think he's like holding his hand up with like a big ass, emerald silver ring on it for the GNW, I don't know, or GNWF Classic. And it's like, yeah, for the ring. See you around, kid.
Is that scene?
Yeah, I think that's scene.
Cool. So that ended positively for you. So you have one white dice to distribute to one of the other players. Who do you want to give that
to? I want to give it to. You know what? Let's give it to Bonnie again. I think he's got another white dice coming to him. I feel.
So Bonnie has a black dice and a white dice now. So that is the end of Act 1. So at the end of Act 1, we have seen our characters building towards their eventual doom. At the end of Act 1, each player rolls the dice in front of them. If you have the high number of either color, you will help add a pair of complications. Roll the unused dice in the central pile, and then consult the tilt table on page 56. So basically, we have in the same way that we use these tables that we constructed our characters from, these ones that were kind of these specific elements of the wrestling world. There is also a table for the tilt. And the tilt is something new and unstable that is injected into the story. It is going to be a series of story elements that are not assigned to any one person, but instead are kind of our collective responsibility to make sure show up in the second half of the game. There are 6 categories. They are mayhem, tragedy, innocence, guilt, paranoia, and failure. And each one of these 6 categories has 6 more options below it, right? So mayhem could mean an out-of-control rampage, a frantic chase, a dangerous animal, parentheses, perhaps metaphorical, gets loose, magnificent self-destruction, cold-blooded score settling, or misdirected passion. And each one of these 6 options has another of these 6 options, right? And so what we're going to do first is... let me look it up again exactly, because I think we all roll our individual dice, and then we will roll the dice in the middle to see where we end up. It's a little tricky. I think we should just do this and go in player order. That's going to be the easiest way to figure this out. Because some of us have 2 different dice colors, and so we will have to roll those separately from each other. So, Pete, why don't you go first? Why don't you roll 2d6, because you just have 2 white dice.
Rolling 2d6. It's a 3 and a 4.
That means your score in white is 4. So just note that. Malcolm, you have a black and a white dice. So why don't you roll 1d6 for the black and then another one for the white.
All right, this is for the... Which one's first?
Just go black and then white, I'd say.
Okay, so I get a 6 for the black.
Yep.
For the white, a 3.
So when you have two mixed colors like this, you subtract the lower value from the higher value, and then that gives you your higher value in whichever color you have.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 6 in black and you have 3 in white.
Yes.
That'll give you 3 black total at the end.
Okay.
So you have 3 black. Pete has what was your?
You told me 4 white. I had a 3 and a 4.
Oh, so you have 7 white. Sorry, you add them together. That's my bad. So you have 7 white. Malcolm has 3 black. My turn. What do I have? I just have 1 white dice, right? Yeah. So I'll roll 1d6. I rolled a 4, which means I have 4 white, and then Tim, you have 2 black dice and 1 white dice. So why don't you roll 2d6 and then 1d6?
2 4s.
So that's 8 black.
Spider eyes.
And then why don't you roll 1 for a white, and then we'll subtract the white number from the black.
So 7.
7 black? Okay, so Pete has 7 white as his highest total, and Tim has 7 black as his highest total, which are the 2 highest totals for either color. So Tim and Pete are going to be the ones who make the final decision on the tilt here. I'm going to drop this screenshot in the Discord real quick. This is the array of numbers for the dice that are in the center.
This looks like a picture of your bare feet.
Oops. So I just dropped it in there, but we have 2 1s and a 6 for the remaining white dice. Then we have a 4, a 1, a 6, a 3, and a 5 for the remaining black die.
Okay.
So the way this works, we are going to consult the tilt table. That is on page 56 of the Fiasco book. So if you guys don't have that open, you should go to it now. Each high-scoring player will choose a general and then a specific element. This is a good time to ask for input from the other players who may have really good ideas. It's also a good time to privilege your own character's big finish. Pick tilt elements you're excited about, and will have the potential to take the game in an intriguing direction. We are injecting trouble, so don't be shy. And then we'll write these new details on their own cards and put them in the center, because the tilt is fair game for anybody. They're not specific to any particular character. Chances are we might know right away where they should belong or to which characters they should belong to, but we will leave it open as we play in Act 2.
So my particular dice outcome is my aftermath conclusion.
Yes, the total number of dice that you have will then later be used to generate the aftermath. But for now, you don't need to worry about your specific dice. However, in Act 2, when a scene resolves, instead of giving your dice away, you will take it for yourself. And you'll want to have a high number in one color to avoid a bad end for your character. So these dice we're picking right now from the center, those don't matter. They just matter for the numbers for this tilt table. So the way this works is I think we should, one of you should pick a big category. The second person should pick a big category. And then we, again, go around one more time for each of you picking one of the detail elements.
Yeah. Pete, you first, baby.
I'll add paranoia on a 5.
Mm-hmm. And so I think maybe this would be a good point just to read what the 6 options are going to be for paranoia. And then we can think about that. And then Tim, you can pick the second big category. But for paranoia, they are a stranger arrives to settle a score. What seems like dumb luck isn't. Things are afoot. 2 people cross paths and everything changes. 4, a sudden reversal of status, fortune, or sympathy. 5, the thing you stole has been stolen. And 6, somebody is watching, waiting for their moment. So yeah, Tim, do you want to pick the next big category?
Yeah. I'm gonna stick to the classic one, mayhem.
Mayhem. So I read that earlier, but I'm going to revisit really quickly. The options for mayhem: an out-of-control rampage, a frantic chase, a dangerous animal gets loose, magnificent self-destruction, cold-blooded score settling, or 6, misdirected passion. So we go back around to Pete. You want to pick the specific element for either mayhem or paranoia?
Oh, I'll pick for mayhem. I'm gonna go magnificent self-destruction.
You, Tim, to pick which of the 6 elements do you want for paranoia?
Mm-hmm. Do we have a 5 left still?
I don't think so, but also
Okay.
I'm happy to fudge that if a 5 sounds really fun to you. You know what I mean?
Sure. If we're fine with that, I think the thing you stole has been stolen. If with you guys trying to take that money, somehow it's already
That's a fun idea. Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, I like that.
There's a lot of ways what that mean or what that could look like.
So if that works for people, I think that is always a fun situation where, I mean, even if that also can be similar to a stupid plan works to perfection, like we did it, but there's fucking nothing here, man. But,
yeah. Something.
What you want to steal has been stolen.
Yeah, that's a pretty fun twist. I like that. Great. So with that all done, so those elements are in the center of the table, which means, like I said before, these are not, they don't belong to any one character per se, but they are 2 things that we have to make sure get included in our second act. So paranoia, the thing you stole has already been stolen, or the thing you want to steal has already been stolen, rather. And then magnificent self-destruction. That's actually really fun. Actually, I mean, I'm rereading it. It does say the thing you stole has been stolen, which carries a slightly different connotation than the thing you want to steal has been stolen.
Yeah.
Although I think either of those is a fun way to interpret it.
There's meat on the bone.
Yeah. The game tells us to take a quick break here, and
I think we should listen.
Yeah. So let's drink some water, bust a piss, let our brains cook for a second, and let's come back and wrap it up.